Now that I made 2 videos explaining the general concepts found in the game world of Yggdrasil, I think this will be the last entry for my Yggdrasil Explained series before I move on to talk about the characters of Overlord. So in today's video, I wanted to take a look at the overall magic system for the series. As usual, there might be spoilers regarding the Overlord series as a whole, so here's a spoiler warning just in case. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like the video and maybe subscribe to the channel for more breakdowns like this in the future. To start, what are the kinds of magic systems found in Overlord? There are 2 types. The one we're familiar with is called tier magic, and the second one is called wild magic, which used to be the main magic system of the New World prior to the introduction of tier magic. I'll talk more about wild magic in a bit, but for now let's start with the tier magic of Yggdrasil. So tier magic is the magic system used by players from Yggdrasil, and it became quite prevalent after the 6 Great Gods and the 8 Great Kings spread it across the New World 500 to 600 years ago. And over time, tier magic managed to replace wild magic as the dominant magic system because of how accessible and easy it was to learn. Now, the natives of the New World not only adopted the Yggdrasil tier magic for their own use, but even began developing new and original spells that either coincides or derive from this magic system. In Yggdrasil, there are over 6,000 different spells for players to choose from, and each player could learn at least 3 spells every time they leveled up once, so a level 100 player will have over 300 spells in their magic arsenal. That number can be further increased by using cash items or possessing special racial skills like Ainz's Dark Wisdom, which allows him to learn and memorize up to 718 different types of spells in the game. Now, in order to learn and use magic in Yggdrasil, one must first fulfill the necessary conditions like having a specific racial or job class, participating in special in-game events, using certain items, and so on. If successful, they are able to use the selected magic type of their choice. Then to use or cast magic in the game, it is set up like most RPG-style games with a dedicated console that is filled with hotkeys that range from 1 to 10, which represents the tier magic that you want to use. And because this is a DMMO RPG, you aren't confined by the total number of keys on the keyboard, so players could technically set up to 480 different hotkeys for their spells. Once completed, players then needed to select one of the hotkeys, and before casting, an arcane eye or magic sensor will appear that allows players to manipulate the direction and range of the spells through the use of their left and right hands. That's why you needed fairly good hand coordination to be an effective spellcaster. Additionally, your memory and analytical ability plays a big role in determining how good of a magic caster you are. Because in the game, there are many factors that affected spells like racial or job class abilities, equipment abilities, resistances, magical defenses or attacking powers, and so on. So for that reason, you needed to understand how your spells worked and their effects in order to bring out the full potential of your magic arsenal. That said, now that we know the basic of spellcasting in Yggdrasil, let's talk about the types of tier magic found within the game. Again, there are over 6,000 different spells in the game, and they are divided into 4 main categories. The first one is called arcane magic, and most offensive spells like lightning or fireball fall under this category. This is mainly used by elementalists, illusionists or wizards. Then we have divine magic, which mainly includes spells that both provide bonus stats, buffs or healing to allies, and is mostly used by bishops, clerics or druids. The third one is called spiritual magic, and this is mainly used by shamans, witch doctors or talisman users. This branch of magic involves the usage of talismans, summoning oriented abilities or psychic type spells. As for everything else that isn't under the 3 categories I mentioned, they fall under the 4th category of alternative magic, meaning it comprises of hybrid users such as paladins, dark knights, monks, bards, and so on. On a side note, depending on what category of magic you wanted to focus on and the tier of magic you wanted to use, it will be dependent on your job class levels. Because for every 7 levels that are put into your job classes, the tier of magic would subsequently increase as well. For context, let's say you have 70 levels in any arcane job classes, then you can learn and use up to the 10th tier for arcane magic. But if you only have 35 levels in any arcane job classes and another 35 levels in any divine job classes, you could reach only the 5th tier for both arcane and divine magic. That's why for players that wanted to unlock stronger spells, it was not rare for them to repeatedly die to reduce their levels and reselect the job classes they needed to acquire the spells that they wanted. But in any case, tier magic wasn't only divided into 4 categories, and is actually further divided into different grades or ranks that range from the lowest tier 1 to the highest tier 10 with an additional super tier that surpasses all the other tiers. Also, this tier system really helps us to gauge and put into perspective the difference in power between an Yggdrasil player and a native of the New World. So I'll be going over each tier while comparing the both of them. Now, before I start with tier 1, there's actually a tier even lower than this one called tier 0, and it only exists in the New World. That's because most people in the New World had such little talent and ability for magic that a new tier had to be created just for them. To give you an idea of how weak tier 0 was, the spells under this tier were not even considered to be real magic, and instead they were seen as more like party tricks or just the type of magic that can help do simple chores. Now for tier 1, this is the starting point for every Yggdrasil player since all you need is to have 1 to 7 levels in your respective job classes, and magic for this tier mostly consisted of practical magic like healing, clear water or compass. In the New World, tier 1 magic is the most common level of magic since it is widely accessible to the masses and can be easily learned through training, but they still needed to have some level of talent or potential to do so. Then going up is tier 2 magic. This is where more combat oriented spells can be learned, and players were required to have 8 to 14 levels to unlock this tier. This tier of magic is harder to learn for New World natives, requiring more talent, and this is what most magic casters aim to reach. Next, we have the third tier, which required players to have at least 15 to 21 levels in their respective job classes to learn. For natives of the New World, only the brightest magic casters can achieve this tier, and this is what most platinum rank adventurers are capable of. Tier 4 is next, and Yggdrasil players needed 22 to 28 levels in order to learn this tier of magic. In the New World, this is considered the level for Orichalcum adventurers, and even some of the acolytes of Fluid Paradigm can use this tier as well. For the 5th and 6th tiers, players needed at least 29 to 35 levels and 36 to 42 levels respectively to unlock this tier of magic. Tier 5 is considered the pinnacle of mankind, and Tier 6 is the highest possible magic that humans are capable of using in the New World. Next is Tier 7, where the level requirement was 43 to 49, and this tier includes powerful spells like Demiurge's Hellfire Wall and Nabe's Chain Dragon Lightning. In the New World, Tier 7 was impossible for a lone human, and only the Slain Theocracy has managed to replicate it through the use of multiple highly skilled magic casters working together. For Tier 8 to 10, they are considered to be the Staff of Legend, used only by heroes, and many in the New World didn't even know they existed except for a select few like Evil Eye. We actually saw them being used during Ainz's fight with Shoutir back in Season 1. However, for players of Yggdrasil, all they needed was to have 50 to 56 levels for Tier 8, 57 to 63 levels for Tier 9, and 64 to 70 levels to unlock Tier 10. Then the last one is the Super Tier Magic, or also referred to as the 11th tier by the Slain Theocracy. This tier of magic is considered more like special abilities rather than actual spells because they don't use any MP but instead they have long cooldowns. Players can only start learning this tier after level 70, and for each subsequent levels they gain, they are able to learn one more, making the total a maximum of 30 when they reach level 100. When a player first learns a super tier spell, the cooldown for the spell is 1 day, but for every 10 levels they gain afterwards, the cooldown will be reduced until it can be used at least 4 times a day at level 100. Additionally, super tier spells require long channeling time and it can be easily interrupted just by damaging or stunning the magic caster with an attack. The best way to counter this is to simply use cash items that reduce channeling time or having people protect you. Examples of super tier spells include Fallen Down, EA Shub Niggurath, and Wish Upon a Star, which were all used by Ainz in the anime. Now besides tier magic, another component for magic I wanted to discuss are the meta magic enhancements, a special form of magic that could add different effects to regular spells, which meant that even though a spell of the same tier can be casted, the output or effect might differ depending on the meta magic. However, you can't apply the same meta magic on the same spell twice, but you could stack other types instead. So for the type of meta magic enhancements, we have boost magic, which elevates the tier and power of the spell. Then delay magic is used to delay the activation of a spell, and extend magic increases the duration of an active spell. Next is maximize magic. It increases the spell's attack power and removes the damage roll, causing it to always be the maximum damage. Over magic is another one, which allows the caster to activate a spell that is higher than what they are normally capable of by consuming a larger amount of mana. Penetrate magic will increase the chances to penetrate to someone's magic defenses, and silent magic removes the need for chanting spells. There's also twin and triplet magic, which allows the caster to fire the same spells 2 to 3 times without needing to cast again. The last one is called wider magic, and this basically increases the range or AoE of a certain spell. Nevertheless, I can't talk about the magic system without at least mentioning how mana worked in Yggdrasil as well. Mana, or often referred to as MP, is the source of power for casting any tier magic, and once a magic caster runs out of MP, they can no longer cast any spells. And in the game, there were no MP recovery potions, and the only way was to wait for at least 6 hours for your MP to recover. That's why it was important to manage your mana pool, because from the tiers of magic used to the types of meta magic enhancements applied to a certain spell, they will add up the amount of MP needed, so magic casters, especially low level ones, had to be extra careful when preparing to cast any spells, although there were equipment or items that can be used to help reduce MP consumption. As for how one determines the total MP of a player, you can simply take their character level times 10, but I think ratio and job classes might affect that number because when we take a look at Ainz's character sheet, it's clear that his total MP exceeds that of the conventional amount. Anyways, the last topic I wanted to talk about is wild magic, and like I said, it used to be the dominant magic system found in the New World, but it fell into disuse when players from YGGDRASIL started to spread the knowledge of tier magic. This was because wild magic was mainly used by the Dragon Lords, and it was extremely hard and dangerous for other species to learn it. That's why when tier magic was introduced, the ease of learning and using it caused wild magic to become less popular in the New World. The downfall of wild magic was facilitated further when most of the Dragon Lords were killed by the 8 Great Kings and the knowledge became extremely rare. It also didn't help that many newly born dragons after the 8 Great Kings can only use tier magic and don't even know about wild magic. This is the reason why only dragons that have the ability to use wild magic like the Platinum Dragon Lord are given the title of True Dragon Lord, and those that do not are considered to be False Dragon Lords. Now, mechanic wise, the difference between wild magic and tier magic is the source of power. Tier magic uses MP to cast spells, but wild magic uses souls, or in simple terms, you basically use HP to cast spells. So the stronger the spell, the more HP it will consume, and the HP doesn't need to come from yourself, and you can actually use sacrifices to cast the spell. This is why wild magic is considered to be more gruesome, and I can see why it fell out of use. However, wild magic does come with some advantages, like users are completely immune to the effects of world items, but they also can't affect world item users with wild magic as well. So with the exception of True Dragon Lords, to become a practitioner of wild magic is actually quite difficult because you must either possess the blood of a Dragon Lord or be born with a talent that allows you to harness it. But even if you somehow were able to learn wild magic, it would be extremely difficult to use it because apparently the presence of YGGDRASIL players and tier magic had altered the properties of the New World so much that even for pure-blooded True Dragon Lords, they are now having a hard time harnessing wild magic. For example, the ring that Gazestronov used to wear was created using wild magic, but according to the Platinum Dragon Lord, it would be hard to create another one because of the interference of tier magic. Also, what do you think is better, tier magic or wild magic? Leave your answer in the comments down below. But yeah, that's basically all the information on the magic systems of YGGDRASIL and the New World. It was definitely interesting to see how magic worked in this fictional world, and the amount of detail is just astonishing. So again, if I missed anything, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video and want more Overlord content like this, be sure to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.